excuse me, what's going on here?
Oh, sorry, dear. I seem to be in a bit of a
Yeah,
mess.
let's just get you off the road.
Oh, thank you, dear. I was getting a bit flustered for a moment. And we don't want to be late, do we, Algernon?
Late?
Yeah, for the funeral.
You taking the alpaca to a funeral?
And it would be awful if they started off without us, wouldn't it? There we are. Come on, come on. Oh, this is very good of you, dear.
No problem, Mrs. Cummings.
Oh, please call me Evelyn.
This guy, haven't I seen him before? Doesn't he belong to Rose Jolly?
Yes, he did, but not anymore.
You mean the funeral?
Rose passed on last week, I'm afraid.
So Algernon's the chief mourner, is he?
Yes, he is, actually. That's what Rose wanted. It's in her will. And I'm the executor.
We have entrusted Rose Jolly to the hands of God. We now commit her body to the ground. Earth to earth, ashes to ashes, dust to dust. In sure and certain hope of the resurrection to eternal...
No.
Certain hope of the resurrection to eternal life.
What was Evelyn thinking, bringing an alpaca to her best friend's funeral?
Rose's last wish, apparently.
Rose always got what she wanted.
Yeah, well, she led Evelyn on a merry song and dance, that's for sure. I'm amazed their friendship lasted 60 years. I just hope that Rose was in a grateful mood when she made out her will.
Yeah, she was loaded, wasn't she?
You bet.
So that's why you mowed a lawn every weekend. Excuse me. Are you Mrs. Cummings?
Yes.
Evelyn Cummings.
Yes.
Yeah, I'm Aaron Jolly. Rose Jolly was my aunt.
Oh, I'm so sorry, but
Look, don't play this sweet, innocent old lady thing with me, okay? You should be ashamed of yourself.
I don't understand.
Is there something I can help you with?
Yeah, you can actually. You can arrest this person.
Just a sec, mate. What's this all about?
My inheritance. This woman is trying to cheat me out of my aunt's money. I'm her only living relative. Look, I can prove it.
No,
Hang on, no.
Listen, I'll take your word for it for the moment, Mr. Jolly.
Like, I know for a fact that up until a couple of months ago, I was Rose Jolly's sole beneficiary. So obviously this woman has come along and conned her way into getting her to change her will and leave all the money to her.
Not to me, to Algernon.
Algernon?
Yes, Senior Sergeant. He just turned up and it was love at first sight. Rose adored him. They were together every moment. And I used to take them driving in the country for picnics. I'd never seen her so happy.
I wasn't aware that Mrs. Jolly had a boyfriend.
Not a boyfriend, boss. Algernon's an alpaca.
An alpaca?
Exactly. Now, would anybody in their right mind leave everything to an animal?
I must say I find it difficult to believe that Rose Jolly would, but...
Everyone knows she was an old battle axe without a loving bone in her body.
Hang on, Mr. Jolly, that's not
I
what
can
I
show
said.
you the will, Senior Sergeant. It's all there. As long as Algernon lives, everything goes to him.
And you get nothing out of this?
As executor, I have the run of Rose's house so that I can take care of Algernon in the manner to which he has become accustomed. And then I have a small salary as well, that's all.
How small?
100,000 a year.
I rest my case.
Alpacas eat quite a lot, you know.
I want this looked into.
Then you'd better consult a lawyer.
What, you mean you're refusing to investigate?
If the will is in dispute, it's a civil matter, not one for the police.
Hey.
Look, I just thought the police would have been more cooperative, okay? It's obvious what's going on.
Look, if you have any specific criminal accusations, bring them to us. Otherwise, our hands are tied. I'm sorry to hear about Rose, Evelyn. You must miss her.
I keep expecting to hear her bossy voice in my ear telling me how I should be managing my life. She was a good friend.
Can I give you a little time,
That would be very kind.
Oh, there you are. Are you all right, Evelyn?
Oh, This is Charles, my friend from the bowling club.
Charles Shaw. I believe there was a bit of shenanigans after the funeral. Are you sure all right?
I think Evelyn needs to go home and have a rest. I was just about to drop her there.
No, I can do that. I've got the old jalopy outside. As long as the alpaca doesn't need a lift too.
Oh, he's back home, Charles.
Good, I'm glad to hear it. Now, I've got all your things packed up. They're on the trailer.
Oh, that's very kind of you, Charles.
Right, let's go then, shall we?
Evelyn's got a boyfriend.
Well, she deserves it after all those years of running around looking after Rose Jolly.
Can I have a word? What do you know about Rose Jolly and this sudden obsession with alpacas?
I was the one who checked it out when she first reported the animal turning up on her doorstep.
So it didn't belong to her?
No, the owner turned out to be a Mr. Ryan, some sort of investment advisor from Melbourne. He's got a weekend place up here. He said it would be okay for Rose to keep the alpaca, and that was that.
So how did it wind up at Rose Jolly's in the first place?
Not really sure.
Did you think to go out to Ryan's place and have a look around?
No. I spoke to him on the phone.
Well, it probably would have been a good idea to check the farm itself. Animals don't usually go wandering around for no reason.
Well, now we know how Algernon escaped.
You check out the shed, Suze.
Jonesy,
What is it?
check this out. This is my fault. If I'd checked this farm out in the first place, they might still be alive.
Well, not necessarily. They smell like they've been dead for ages.
We should call the RSPCA.
And the owner.
I'll deal with him. Of course, it's your responsibility. Who else is... He's hung up on me.
Call him back.
He won't take the call. I get the distinct impression that a mere matter of starving animals isn't a good enough excuse to drag him away from his board meeting.
Yeah, well, you've got to be a lot tougher than that, mate.
Maybe the RSPCA will know how to deal with him.
Excuse me?
Yeah.
I was wondering if someone could help me.
Yeah, of course. What's the problem?
I want to contest a will. How would I go about that?
Sorry?
A will. You know when someone dies and leaves something
Yeah,
to...
I know what a will is. Whose will are you talking about?
Mrs. Rose Jolly.
Look, it's not really a police matter, but just out of interest, on what grounds are you contesting the will?
On the grounds that Mrs. Cummings isn't entitled to Grandma's money.
Grandma.
Miss Abbott claims that her mother was Rose Jolly's daughter.
But Rose Jolly didn't have any children.
This was when she was a very young woman. My mother was adopted out.
I've already explained to Miss Abbott that there is another claimant.
Yeah. But surely a granddaughter would have a greater claim than some kind of nephew.
Well, as I said, this is something you really should be discussing with a lawyer.
Oh, I haven't got that kind of money. Could you at least tell me what I have to do?
Well, I suppose the first thing to do is make sure that your claim can be proved.
Oh, I can prove it, all right?
I want you to know that I'll always love you, and I regret having to give you up. But I hope that you'll understand the circumstances.
It's from Rose Jolly to Kirsten's mother, or so Kirsten says.
She can say what she likes. It's undated, unsigned. It's typewritten, doesn't prove a thing.
Is there any way we can find out if it's authentic?
Well, the document examination section can check it out. They might give you an idea from the age of the paper. But it's really not our problem, Suze.
It might be if it's a forgery.
What, you think it is?
Well, I hope it is. Evelyn and Algernon have already got one contender too many for Rose's money.
Report of a burg. Guess where?
We didn't notice at first.
We were just bringing in Evelyn's bits and
And
pieces.
when we realised that Amajira had gone and the other paintings.
Okay, let's take a look, shall we?
And over here, a huge oak table and half a dozen antique chairs, some ornaments and a sideboard.
Not to mention a complete bedroom suite. Right, Evelyn?
Yes, it's just dreadful.
Do you have any idea how they got in?
It's over there through the door.
Well, it's been jemmied open. Are you sure this happened while you were at the funeral, Mrs. Cummings?
Well, everything was still here this morning when I came to collect Algernon.
Well, that means they had a 3-hour start. They could be anywhere by now.
Yeah, but perhaps they were spotted. I mean, they must have needed a huge van.
Right, we'll get Ben to do a door knock. And we'll need a list of everything that was taken, Mrs. Cummings.
Well, she'd collected quite a bit in 60 years. I might not be able to remember everything.
Just do the best you can.
Actually, Evelyn, did Rose ever own a typewriter?
Well, if she did, that's the first thing I've forgotten.
Okay, thanks. Here you go, Evelyn.
Oh, thank you, dear.
You all finished there?
Oh, hopefully, but I think that's most of it.
Well, this is plenty for us to get started with.
You've done very well, old girl. Pity I hadn't been there instead of packing the trailer.
Oh, no, Charles. It's not your fault.
No, I just feel I've let you down a bit. I mean, not being at the funeral either.
No, that's all right, Charles. Charles finds funerals difficult.
Only buried my dear wife a year ago. So.
Mrs. Cummings, just one more thing. You didn't happen to notice anyone hanging around Rose's place, did you?
No, I'm afraid not. I wasn't there all the time. I didn't think it proper to move in until after the funeral.
So you don't have any idea who might have done this?
No, not really. Unless one of Rose's relatives thought they had a right to her property. Well, you do hear of that sort of thing, don't you?
When Mum's cousin Enid died, her nephew and his wife stripped the house right down to the last bar of soap in the bathroom, and that was even before the will was read.
Can't say I'd blame the Rellies in this case. I mean, what's a llama going to do with all that money?
Rose obviously thought he'd appreciate it.
I mean, a llama.
Actually, Algernon's an alpaca.
Llama, alpaca, what's the difference? They're all just woolly, humpless camels.
Well, don't they spit like camels do?
You're kidding.
Algernon has better manners.
I want him. Give me a golden retriever any day of the week. Peach. Listen.
Listen to what?
Can you hear that? Yeah, there's someone outside. Go and look.
Who's out there?
You've got to be joking.
You do realise it's probably just another escapee from that hobby farm. In fact, what's to say that he's not exactly the same alpaca?
Yeah, Algernon?
Yeah.
Of course it isn't. Evelyn's not stupid enough to let her meal ticket go wandering away.
All right, so say it doesn't belong to Evelyn. It's got to belong to somebody.
Yeah, well, if it belongs to that stupid Collins Street hobby farmer, then he's better off with us.
You know what? I'm going to make my own way to work this
You
morning.
want to live with us, don't you? You want to live with us.
Leave you to it.
Yes.
I just don't understand what you people think you're playing at.
Have you seen the state of your animals?
Look, one of your local yokels was supposed to be looking after the place for me. Obviously, he didn't. He just took the money and ran.
Nevertheless,
And believe
Mr.
me,
Wright...
I was as appalled as you are when I saw the state of the farm. But in future, I will be spending more time up here. Which is why I want my stolen alpaca returned.
Stolen?
Or what else would you call it? You don't think I believe that dotty old woman's story, do you?
Which dotty old woman?
He means Evelyn Cummings. Apparently Algernon disappeared last night.
Now, why does that not surprise me?
Mr. Ryan claims Evelyn is lying.
Why would you do that?
From what I've read in the local paper this morning, she has every reason to keep her hands on that alpaca.
Mr. Ryan, you gave that alpaca
I
to
did
Rose.
not.
You did. You said
I
keep
did
it.
not.
It's no
I
money.
loaned it to her. And now that she's dead, I want it back. Now, are you going to arrest this Mrs. Cummings, or aren't you?
Joe, you've got to give him back.
OK, say it is the same alpaca. I can't give it back to this Lloyd Ryan guy. You know what'll happen.
He's the legal owner of the animal, Joe.
Well, not in my book. Let's see what the RSPCA have to say when the report comes in.
It is my alpaca, Senior Sergeant. I have the papers.
Yes, all right, Mr. Ryan. Let's find the animal first, shall we? Quite a charmer.
Hey, Ben, do you mind if I follow through on this one?
PJ?
Maybe Joe'd like to help you out. I'm sure she'd have a fair idea where alpacas like to hang out.
So when did you realise that he had gone missing?
It was when that Mr. Ryan turned up this morning, of course. He said that Algernon belonged to him, but is that true, dear? I thought he gave him to Rose.
It's certainly what he said to me over the phone.
Oh, dear. I hope Algernon hasn't been hit by a car or something, wandering off like that. Anything could have happened to him.
Don't worry, we will find him.
Well, are you sure he wandered? I mean, maybe with him being a valuable animal, whoever took the furniture took him as well.
Yeah, yes, I suppose so, but it wouldn't be the first time that he's pushed the gate open and then took himself off to forage in someone's garden. He's very partial to a bit of shrubbery. Does this mean I'll lose my income from the will?
Not if we can help it.
Which we may not be able to do. Strictly speaking, this is a civil matter, as Constable Rayner well knows.
But we will do everything we can, all right?
Oh, thank you,
And
dear.
take care.
Bye.
Serge, I'm with the boss. You can't keep giving the old duck false hope.
Lloyd Ryan gave that alpaca to Rose, and if I have to stand up in court and say so, don't worry, I will. Evelyn's not going to lose out over this.
It may not be up to you. Ownership of the alpaca aside, there's still a nephew waiting in the wings to contest the will.
And the granddaughter's next in line.
Yeah, well, the fact is, Evelyn is executor of Rose's will, and Rose gave her total discretion.
Boss, Suze, I think I probably need to have a word.
Eating PJ's roses.
Yeah, that's why I called him Albert.
Pardon?
Well, after the roses.
What are you talking about?
Albertine roses, Albertine, Albert. I mean, I thought he was a girl.
Yeah,
initially,
look, we
but
don't
then
need to
weighed on
go.
it.
We don't need to go into all that. What I'd like to know is why you didn't enlighten us with all this earlier.
Because I didn't realise. I mean, I was hoping Albert and Algernon might not be the same animal, and I'm still not convinced.
It's hardly likely to have two of them wandering around Mount Thomas.
Well, why not? Do we know how many actually went missing from Ryan's farm?
Oh, look, I don't want to argue the point. Just take him back. You go too, Rayner.
I don't miss you. Sorry, mate. Even if you are Algernon, you'll always be Albert to me.
Hang on.
What?
This alpaca is completely black.
What, so?
Well, so it can't be Algernon.
Are you sure?
Yeah, Algernon's got a little white mark just here on his head.
Yes.
So it doesn't.
See, you are Albert.
But we still don't know if he came from Ryan's farm or not.
Well, Ryan only reported one missing, didn't he? And we know it's not this one. So, basically, he doesn't care.
Yeah, I think we can safely say that for now.
So, if Albert isn't Algernon, who is he? Whose is he, and where's Algernon?
Well, he's still on walkabout.
I doubt it. He would have turned up somewhere by now.
What? You think he's been llama napped?
Or worse.
Killed? Who'd want to kill a beautiful animal like that?
Well, he likes roses as much as the other one. Could be any one of the local green thumbs.
With someone who would stand to gain from his death, like one of these heirs who keep coming out of the woodwork.
But they'll get the money anyway, eventually. I mean, how long do alpacas live?
About 20 years, if they're well cared for.
And this one would be living in the lap of luxury.
So, 100 grand a year plus no expenses spared for dear old Algernon. In 20-odd years, Evelyn would have gone through a fair whack of the inheritance.
That's supposing she lives that long herself.
So what happens if she does snuff it first? Who gets to take care of Algernon then?
I'm sure Rose would have named somebody else in the will.
Well, you better watch it, Benny boy, because if I remember correctly, she was a little keen on you.
Oh, don't even joke about that.
I bet I know one person she wouldn't have named.
Get rid of the alpaca? I don't need to get rid of it. My lawyer says we're like 90% certain we'll overturn Aunt Rose's will.
Still leaves a 10% margin, Mr. Jolly. Perhaps you decided to take out a little insurance.
Are you serious? Look, read my lips. I had nothing to do with the animal, okay? Nothing. Nothing. So, if you're finished with your little farce, I'm going back to my motel.
Well, there is one other thing before you go. Where were you between 10 a.m. and midday yesterday?
Why?
There was a burglary at your Aunt Rose's house, and a lot of valuable items were taken.
So first I murder the alpaca and then I burgle the house.
You might have thought the items were rightfully yours.
They are, Constable. They are. I'm not a thief.
So could you tell us where you were?
You know where I was. You saw me. I was at the funeral.
Not at the beginning you weren't. Must have been nearly 12 by the time you turned up. Where were you earlier?
Well, I was at my motel, the Colonel Thomas. I overslept.
And can anyone confirm that?
No.
Well, the Colonel Thomas says he didn't take breakfast, so he could have overslept.
Well, he could have been helping himself to his great-aunt Rose's prized possessions as well.
Anyway, he seems to have different advice to yours, Raina, in that as the only legal heir, he's got a pretty good case.
Well, he could be lying about his legal advice.
What about Kirsten Abbott?
Well, she's even shown us her mother's birth certificate.
Well, what about the alleged letter from Rose?
Document exam section is still working on it.
The only thing that should be concerning us is the whereabouts of this missing alpaca, alive or dead.
Surely, if Kirsten is after Rose's money, she's a suspect.
All right, Raina, off you go. But just remember, if we were lawyers, we'd be wearing expensive suits.
When you phoned, I thought it was about the letter. It is genuine, you know.
Yeah, forget that. What we want to know is where you were yesterday at the time of Rose Jolly's funeral.
At work. I wanted to go, but it was difficult to get time off. Why are you asking me all this?
Rose Jolly's house was burgled yesterday.
Are you saying that I...
Well, you tell us. Well?
All we're trying to do is eliminate all possibilities. Obviously, if you were at work...
I was.
And you have witnesses?
Yes.
Well, that's fine then.
What I don't understand is why you think I would do something like that.
To get what you thought was yours in case your claim got nowhere.
Oh, that's a dreadful thing to say.
It's all right, Kirsten. These are just questions that we have to ask. And there is another one. It's just routine. Rose's alpaca seems to have gone missing. You wouldn't know anything about that, would you?
Missing?
Yeah. Possibly dead.
Oh, killed, you mean? Well, I wouldn't do anything like that. I'm an animal. I love animals.
Well, people do all kinds of things where money's involved.
Oh, not me. This isn't about Grandma Rose's money. It's about my mother being acknowledged for who she rightfully was. That's all it is.
So, you think she's genuine?
Yeah, a bit off the wall, but I think we got the truth out of her. With a bit of gentle persuasion.
So where do we go from here?
Well, it's difficult to go anywhere, boss, without proof or evidence. It's just a pity none of that stolen stuff's turned up yet.
It's probably a bit early yet. You keeping an eye on local dealers?
Yeah, Melbourne as well.
Good. Keep the door not going to. Somebody in Rose's area must have seen something at the time of the burglary.
You'd think the same would apply to Algernon. It can't be easy to keep a large black alpaca secret.
Huh. Unless he's 6 feet under.
Boss, Evelyn and Charles are here. They've got something to tell you.
We were just getting into the car.
Off to do a bit of shopping.
When there he was.
Yeah, just trotting into the yard.
Well, Algernon.
Yes, and I thought I'd better come and tell you at once.
You have secured him, have you?
Yes, Senior Sergeant. Charles has fixed the gates safe and sound. Thank you again for all your help.
Pleasure.
It looks like that's solved.
You reckon? It's a little bit too convenient, if you ask me.
I reckon you'd better make sure that Albert is still at PJ's place.
Any sign?
No.
Me neither. I don't believe this. Evelyn's stolen my Albert.
We don't know that, Joe. Doesn't seem like her style to me.
Well, there's only one way to find out.
No white mark. This is Albert. Evelyn's got some explaining to do.
She wouldn't be that devious.
Oh, don't believe it, Suze. Sweet little old ladies like to wear hot boots too sometimes when it suits them.
Well, there wasn't any need for you to come and check, you know. I put you to enough trouble today as it is. Now, would you all like a nice cup of tea?
What we'd like is a word or two back at the station.
Well, there's no need for that, surely.
I suspect there is, Mrs. Cummings. this alpaca just turned up, Evelyn.
Exactly, dear. I don't know what everybody's so upset about.
So you didn't realise that it wasn't Rose's animal?
Of course not. Charles and I found him in the garden. He was black, so we naturally assumed Algernon had returned.
You didn't think to examine him too closely then, did you?
Well, no. To tell you the truth, I don't really like alpacas very much, so I didn't bother.
Well, it sounds like it's all been a misunderstanding. Well, I hope it was. Because if it hadn't been, some people might think it was fraud.
Fraud, Senior Sergeant?
Well, based on the fact that you need an alpaca to enjoy Rose's bequest, they may well think that.
Oh, dear. They wouldn't, would they? That would be dreadful.
Yeah, I'm still not convinced.
The fact is, there's no proof, so we have to give Evelyn the benefit of the doubt.
Well, at least it means I can take Albert home.
Yes, but where is home? Did anybody get round to checking with Lloyd Ryan to see whether he's missing more than one alpaca? I thought not. Do it right now.
But what if Albert is his?
If he can prove that he's the rightful owner, then we have to return the alpaca to him.
Well, we can't do that.
Just do it without any further delay, Parish.
Let's at least wait for the RSPCA report.
Yeah, and if it's as bad as I think it'll be, they're going to impound all the animals anyway.
All right, but I want to see that report the minute it arrives. In the meantime, the real Algernon is still missing. So if you two are at a loose end...
Yeah, okay. We're on our way, boss.
Any luck?
Well, he's certainly not back at the Ryan farm.
Yeah, no doubt that Aaron Jolly's got him hidden in his motel room.
So where is he?
Oh, you know my theory. No Algernon, a loot goes to Kirsten Abbott or Aaron Jolly.
Yeah, but we'd still need to find a body, right, to prove he was dead.
Well, I'm not really up on habeas corpus where alpacas are concerned. I have to be off. See ya.
Yeah, mate.
Look, just Earl,
all right? Is there some problem here?
You all right, Charles?
I'm fine.
So what's with the shirt grabbing?
Nothing. Just a misunderstanding, that's all.
It looked a little more than that.
No. These things get a little overheated sometimes.
What things?
Well, business matters, but that's all cleared up now. Right, Don?
Yeah, right. Well, if you're sure.
Quite sure. We'll follow this up later, okay?
Did you see that guy's T-shirt?
What about it?
I'm not sure yet.
And then you just add the mushrooms and the soy sauce.
Hey.
Hey.
I don't believe it.
Amazing, isn't it? He's so tame. And she is. You're like a little woolly person. Eh? Flowers. Thanks, Dave.
But he's not staying.
Yeah. Why?
Because he's an alpaca, Joe. He needs to be in a paddock, not in the kitchen.
He'll be happy with us.
Look, I'll be straight with you. I'm not ready to start a family of the four-footed variety.
Yeah. Don't say that. You'll hurt his feelings. Hey, it's all right. He likes it here.
His name's Don Dennison, and his brother runs a truck and trailer hire place out of St David's.
Well, you know him?
Well, let's just say he's not the district's most upright citizen.
Anything for a fast buck, and he's been up on a few assault charges as well.
Well, he's got priors in Melbourne too, for burglary. Plus, there was a trailer from that firm parked outside Rose Jolly's house the day it was burgled.
So why was he heavying Evelyn's bow?
It's like the old guy said, it was about business.
Well, what business exactly?
Look, what's all this about?
You tell us, Don.
He owed me money.
What for?
He just did.
Well, it wouldn't have anything to do with him hiring something from your brother's firm, would it?
Yeah. Yeah, okay, yeah, that's what it was about. He'd hired a truck off my brother and he hadn't paid up.
What would he want a hire truck for?
How would I know?
Don, are you sure about that?
Yeah, I'm bloody sure. Look, I was just doing a bit of debt collecting, that's all there is to it, all right?
Obviously lying.
So what's going on?
You know what they say when thieves fall out?
Well, you're saying that Don and Charles were involved in the burg at Rose Jolly's?
Well, why else would Charles want to hire a truck?
Well, I thought he helped move the things into Rose's place.
He did, but he used a trailer for that.
Only Dennison didn't mention anything about a trailer.
And Charles wasn't exactly forthcoming last night either. You got to wonder why.
But Charles is Evelyn's friend.
Recent friend?
Plus, he wasn't at the funeral, which is when the burg took place.
Yes, but didn't he say he was collecting Evelyn's things from her old house?
Well, that's what he said.
Burglary? This is ridiculous.
And could you tell us why you hired a truck from Don Dennison?
Is that what he says?
He's saying he's lying.
Bending the truth a little is the way I'd put it.
Meaning?
At one stage, I intended to hire a truck to transport Evelyn's bits and pieces. Then I found I didn't need one, so I hired a trailer instead. Mr. Dennison was a bit miffed about that. He works for his brother, you know.
Miffed enough to threaten you with violence?
Apparently.
Mr. Shaw, we've done some checking. You have previous convictions for fraud.
And I'm sure Evelyn hasn't met your very much alive and well wife. We've also just been informed that a white truck was seen in the vicinity of Rose Jolly's house on the morning of the funeral.
What's that got to do with me?
The description of the driver matches Don Dennison.
And the passenger sounds remarkably like you.
Well, rather circumstantial, I'd say, detective.
But there is one other thing, sir. Mr. James Kilburn, he's been arrested in Melbourne trying to sell paintings that came from Mrs. Jolly's house. Now, I believe Mr. Kilburn is a former associate of yours. Is that true, sir?
I'd like to speak to my lawyer, please.
You used her, didn't you?
Who?
Evelyn. You never cared for her at all.
Everybody uses Evelyn. I'm sure Rose Jolly could have told you that.
I'm really sorry, Evelyn.
Life must go on, as my mother used to say. Help yourself to milk and sugar, dear.
These cups are beautiful.
Royal Dalton. One thing of Rose's that Charles didn't take. I used to think that we had a future together, you know. And he seemed so genuine.
Well, people like him usually do. That's how they operate.
Nevertheless, basically it was my fault. So no point in crying over spilt milk, is there? Neither for Charles nor Algernon.
Now, don't you worry about Algernon, because we will find him. It'll be all right, you'll see. We'll make sure you don't end up on the street.
I'm sure you will.
Her whole world has been turned upside down, and if we don't find Algernon, she's going to lose everything.
Yeah, well, I still reckon she deliberately tried to substitute Joe's alpaca for Algernon. What do you reckon, boss?
Maybe.
Well, if she did, I'm sure it was Charles's idea, not hers, and I don't think we should penalise her for it. We've got to find Algernon, or she's going to be on Skid Row again.
Well, assuming he's still alive.
What about Kirsten Abbott? You tried her place?
Yeah, once, briefly.
Well, maybe we should try it again.
Maybe.
Not so much as a lump of alpaca poo, let alone any body parts. So unless he's in the house or what's left of him's in the house.
Well, I think she's more into whales than alpacas.
It's funny sounding whales. They're certainly well fed. You know, some people collect stamps. Maybe she collects animals.
Collects them or liberates them? Well, Kirsten Abbott is definitely a member of Animal Friends.
What, that animal liberation outfit?
Yeah.
Let me guess, this is Free the Alpacas month.
No, they didn't seem to have a problem with alpacas, only with Kirsten.
In what way?
Well, they're thinking of asking her to resign.
Why?
She's more than a little obsessive, apparently.
So her only interest in Algernon was to liberate him?
Could be.
Well, to liberate him from what, though? A $2 million estate? With a doting old biddy waiting on him hand and foot? That sounds like alpaca heaven to me.
How does Kirsten's claim on the will fit in with this little theory?
Maybe she wanted to use Rose's money to help liberate the animals or something, I don't know. But at least we can be sure she didn't want to do away with Algernon.
I hate to be the bearer of bad tidings, but document exam section rang while you were out. That paper was at least 50 years old, which means the letter that Kirsten's been using as proof that Rose Jolly's her grandmother could well be genuine.
Don't panic yet, Rayner. Not until you've at least talked to the girl, which you haven't as yet, I guess.
No, she wasn't home, but Animal Friends did give me her work address.
Don't worry. Anyone who wants to save whales probably doesn't want to murder alpacas.
But like you said, put an animal between them and $2 million and they soon start sharpening their knives.
Number 46.
Historical Society. We should have guessed.
Hello? Bet I know why you're here.
Oh, yeah? Why was that?
Grandma Rose's letter. I told you it was genuine, didn't I?
Well, the paper was certainly genuine. But you wouldn't have much trouble getting hold of old stuff like that around here, would you?
Sorry?
We just need to find the typewriter. An Olivetti from the late 50s, according to the police experts who examined that letter.
Just like this one.
Now we just need to know what you've done with Algernon.
Evelyn Cummings had no idea how to look after him. You could see she didn't care. Alpacas need special food, the right environment, love, companionship.
So you did take him?
Only 'cause he was miserable.
Are you sure it wasn't to help your own claim?
Had nothing to do with that.
So he's still alive?
Of course he is. Safe and sound. I've done nothing wrong.
Kirsten, you tried to obtain money by false pretenses.
Yeah, but I wasn't going to use it for myself. I was going to create a fund to protect all alpacas.
Well, I didn't know they needed one.
Mrs. Jolly made a big donation to Animal Friends before she died. She wanted it to be for alpacas, only the rest of the committee decided to use it for the next wildlife rescue fund. I was only doing what Mrs. Jolly wanted in the first place. But he was here only a few hours ago.
You sure about that?
Why would I lie?
I can think of 2 million reasons.
I told you I don't harm animals.
All right, Kirsten, so where is he then?
I don't know. Maybe Evelyn Cummings found him.
Oh, that's hardly likely.
What about the nephew?
Aaron?
Yeah, maybe it's him.
Over here.
Oh, no.
Is Algernon all right?
I don't understand.
Oleander. It's poisonous.
Just sign here and you're free to go.
When will my case come up?
Next month or so. Make sure you're available, Miss Abbott.
I didn't mean any harm, Sergeant. Honest, I didn't.
Attempting to obtain property by deception doesn't sound harmless to me.
I just wanted to help the animals.
Like you helped Algernon.
It's pretty hard, boss.
Not as hard as it is on Evelyn Cummings losing her home and her income.
So the old lady's taking a trip. What's all this about?
Oh, that's me, mate. I'm supposed to be driving up to Melbourne Airport.
To Melbourne.
Melbourne, yeah, cash on the arm, huh?
You heading off, Evelyn?
Oh, dear. What have I done? It was very foolish of me, I know, but I thought, why not? After all, everybody had got their pound of flesh out of me, first Rose and then Charles. Why shouldn't I get something out of it as well?
So you weren't in the robbery with Charles?
No, of course not. The first I knew that he was crooked was when you told me.
Well, then where did all this money come from?
Yesterday, after the constable here left, a very secretive gentleman from Melbourne turned up with a parcel for Charles. I was so angry with him that I thought I'd open it up and see what it was.
And it was this?
Yes.
And you guessed it was the proceeds from the burglary?
Something like that, yes.
And that's when you decided
To take the money and run, as they say? Yes.
Where were you going, Evelyn?
I don't really know. Catch a plane and fly away. Someplace in the sun. Cheap and cheerful.
We would have caught up with you eventually.
Oh, I realise that, dear. But what a way to go.
Right. I've come for the money.
What money would that be, Mr. Jolly?
Don't try to be funny. The money that Cummings woman was trying to run off with.
Oh, that money. Perhaps you'd like to deal with this, Constable. I did warn you that this was a civil matter, but that doesn't mean that the matter is entirely out of our hands.
That money was from the burglary, right? My property. So, I want it back.
Well, I'm afraid it's evidence, Mr. Jolly, and you'll have to wait till it's released, which could be quite some time.
That's ridiculous.
No, just the law. And by the way, it won't cover the full value of the items burgled.
Sorry, you're confusing me. What?
Fencers never pay the real value, 10% at most, so that's all you'll be getting.
Okay, but the contents would be insured, right? So the insurance would cover the rest.
Yeah, if there is any insurance. Evelyn Cummings was managing most of your aunt's affairs up until her death. Let's just say organisation was never her strong suit. I just hope she didn't forget to renew the policy.
Who's here? Now Tom's own alpaca whisperer.
Oh, I don't want him to go.
He'll be okay. Ryan's definitely going to get his act together.
So he says.
The RSPCA are prosecuting him for neglect. He'll be under very close scrutiny.
So he is the legal owner, we checked.
He won't be on his own. Ryan's bought him 3 girlfriends to start his new herd. Come on, I promised I'd have him back before dark.
Yeah, take him. See you, Albert. Bye, mate. I liked him.